Well, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster and state emergency officials addressing the impact that this storm could have on South Carolina.
Yeah, they are speaking live now from the South Carolina Emergency Operations Center in Columbia. Let's go there.
The latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center indicates the potential for a South Carolina landfall during the day Friday along the central and northern portion of the coast, with Ian then shifting northward into the state through Friday evening while weakening. This could be the first hurricane to make landfall in South Carolina since Matthew in 2016. Hurricane warnings are currently in effect for the entire South Carolina coast, with tropical storm warnings extending well inland across the Midlands. Tropical storm force winds will develop later today into tonight along the coast, then spread inland through Friday morning. Wind gusts could reach 60 to 70 miles per hour along the coast and inland areas east of the forecast track, with many other areas in the central and eastern portion of the state possibly seeing gusts of 45 to 60 miles per hour at times. There is a risk right along portions of the central and northern South Carolina coast of hurricane force winds. These winds will result in downed trees and power lines, with some minor structural damage possible to things like roof, shingles, and vinyl siding, especially near the coast. It's important that people prepare for possible power outages as well. Perhaps most concerning is the increased threat of storm surge flooding. Storm surge warnings are now in effect for the entire South Carolina coast. Potential storm surge inundation is now forecast to be as high as 4 to 6 feet along the southern coast, 4 to 7 feet along parts of the Charleston County coast, and 3 to 5 feet in Georgetown and Horry counties. Should point out that if the forecast track shifts, that would change those values, with areas south of the potential landfall experiencing less in the way of storm surge flooding. However, given those values, flooding won't just occur along the ocean front, but also along waterways, bays, and tidal creeks, and some roadways may become temporarily impassable. If you're in or around the tidal region, you should follow the advice of local officials and consider finding nearby higher ground. As for rainfall, torrential rainfall occurring within a short period of time could certainly result in flash flooding. Everyone's reminded that if you encounter a flooded roadway, to turn around, don't drown. Conditions should improve across the state late Friday night into Saturday as Ian weakens and lifts to the north. All the local National Weather Service offices located in Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Wilmington, North Carolina that serve the state are routinely briefing state, county, and local officials and decision makers, so be sure to follow their guidance. It's also important to assess your risk for any of these potential hazards and take the necessary precautions now to protect yourself and your property. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Just to remind everyone, under my executive order, I have not ordered any closings, have not ordered any evacuations, nor lane reversals or state government closings. Now, your local governments may have advice, of course. They may close some county offices, but that will be, those decisions are left, of course, to the local level. And in listening to the National Weather Service and Mr. Quirello, you know there's some differences. Technically, a hurricane, a storm is not a hurricane until it's 74 miles an hour of sustained winds. And it's not a tropical storm until it's 40 or above. Doesn't make much difference whether this comes in at hurricane strength or below at storm strength or somewhere on the line, because it's going to be blowing strong winds. It's going to be all over the state at different levels, as you can see if you go and look at those maps. But we know we're going to have a lot of water. This is going to come in, we're having this, Ian is going to arrive in strength about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and it'll be here until about 8 o'clock tomorrow night at top strength. So high tide in Charleston is at noon tomorrow. So we know there's going to be water, a lot of hot water in Charleston. They know that too. I spoke to John Tecklenburg this morning. In fact, I think I've spoken today to most of the mayors along the coast, as well as our congressional Senator Scott and Senator Graham. And my office has been talking with others. I spoke to Congresswoman Mace, but everyone is on the same page. Everyone is reading the same information, and of course our team here is tightly involved with all of the county organizations and the county county offices, and we know what's coming. There's a little bit of wiggle room in exactly how strong the rains and how strong the wind will be. But the biggest variable is human reaction, is people failing to take the necessary precautions. That's the real danger that we have is human error. So again, we want all of us, we want to urge everyone in our state to take a look at those maps, to pay attention, to see what is going to happen in your area. Some will have more wind than others, some will have more rain than others. But you can get that information if you go to those official sources, and don't go to the others, because there's always a lot of misinformation or sometimes outdated information that's going around. We know this is going to be a serious storm, but we also know, based on our preparations, which are now moving, that we're not preparing anymore, we're acting now. We know that we can handle this if we use our heads and follow the rules. And there are a lot of little simple things. If you have to go to the store, if you're running out of something, go ahead and do it while we have time before it starts raining real hard. Don't drive on roads. If you can't see the pavement, don't drive on the road. And remember, even on highways, if you get up to high speeds, everybody's heard of hydroplaning, where a car can, he's slipping on the water, and that's very, very dangerous. Be sure, call your family, call your loved ones, tell them where you're going to be. Let them know that, so they won't be worried about you. And again, take care of your pets, take all your whatever medications. If you have to leave home for a while, take everything you need with you. Stay inside. If the wind's blowing, it can blow something light on you. You see it blowing the shingles off the roofs. You also see it knocking down winds. Take items inside, loose items that might be blown around by the wind. Take those inside with you. Don't let those become projectiles on people. And I think we would be all right. I've spoken to Governor Cooper in North Carolina and Governor Kemp in Georgia, and we've also had communications with Governor DeSantis' office, and we're all ready to send whatever we need to wherever it needs to go if we don't need it ourselves. So this is really a remarkable full team effort. Everybody's involved. And of course, you are highly familiar with those of us who've been having these sessions with you day in and day out, and we'll continue to do that. But, so again, we're prepared, but people, be careful. Be careful, be smart. Don't be a statistic, and we'll do just fine.
Kim Stinson, Director, South Carolina Emergency Management Division. The State Operations Center, where we're at right now, is currently staffed, and we'll move to a 24-hour operation tomorrow. Our priorities include support to counties and contingency planning for possible transportation, sheltering, supply, and equipment missions, as well as an active public information operation to keep citizens informed. We continue to have daily conference calls with county emergency managers to share information and identify any unmet needs. We currently have a few requests for sandbags and high water vehicles, which are being filled, and then currently we have not received any reports of significant damage. Very much in line with what the governor just said, we would ask everybody in finalizing their storm preparations, keep in mind several points. Residents in low-lying areas, prone to flooding, particularly along the coast, should have a plan to move to higher ground if their homes become unsafe. And local agencies are opening emergency shelters based on the need and the storm conditions. And the shelter locations, when open, will be posted on our website at scemd.org and on our mobile app at South Carolina Emergency Manager. Certainly be aware of flash flooding. If there's a possibility of a flash flood, move to higher ground. Don't wait to be told to do that. Take action. And certainly, if time allows, prepare your home for a flood by moving essential items to an upper floor, bring in outdoor furniture, disconnect electrical appliances, and be prepared to turn off gas, electricity, and water. And then certainly don't walk through moving water. 6 inches of moving water can make you fall, and certainly could cause some serious problems, especially if it's moving water. Certainly, and the governor's already talked about this, do not drive into flooded areas. If flood waters surround your car, you should abandon the car and move to higher ground if you can do that safely. You and your vehicle can easily be swept away. Certainly have ways to get emergency information, make that available. Examples include the NOAA weather radio, code red, notifications, wireless emergency alerts that you can get over your mobile phone and mobile devices. Make sure your devices have backup batteries and extra chargers. If there's a high wind or tornado warning is issued for your area, get indoors to a pre-designated location, such as a basement, storm cellar, or the lowest building level. And if there's no basement, go to the center of an interior room on the lowest level, away from corners, windows, doors, and outside walls. In a vehicle or mobile home, get out immediately and go to a more secure structure. If there's no shelter or structure nearby, lie flat in the nearest ditch and cover your head. And do not attempt to drive a tornado. Also, as the governor mentioned, follow trusted, verified sources for the latest news and be prepared to follow the instructions of state and local public safety officials. And then finally, another reminder that this is not just a coastal event. We expect this storm to impact all of South Carolina over the next several days. Thank you, sir.
The expression we've used lately is run from the water and hide from the wind. Because this wind will really be blowing and can blow things on you. And so we must be careful. And Mr. Stinson reminded me of that water. You know, if you're in a vehicle that has electric windows, they will not open if you get under the water. So you don't want to be underwater. You don't want to slide off a road into a ditch full of water, because you might not be able to get the doors open. And the windows, the electrical windows, all those circuits will not work. So this could be very dangerous for those kind of reasons as well. So I want everybody to think and be careful what you're doing. General McCarty.
Good afternoon, Major General McCarty, Adjutant General here in South Carolina. The soldiers, airmen, and employees of the Military Department of South Carolina are prepared to support the state in response to Hurricane Ian. This, as the chaplain noted, this is something that we do year-round. We prepare for these type of events. We're well poised at this point with equipment and personnel, and we're in the process of activating approximately 100 soldiers on state active duty. They will be assigned to the anticipated affected coastal counties. We will have what are commonly referred to as the high water vehicles to help if there's any localized flooding, if there's anyone that needs to be evacuated from those areas, we're prepared to do that. We have significant other assets and capabilities if those situations warrant. And as always, if we need additional assets, we can EMAC through the emergency management compact from other states, and we always have access to Title X assets if they're needed here in the state. We're not anticipating that at this time, but we are prepared for whatever situation may come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mandate it.
Thank you, Governor. As an update to my report yesterday, Duke, Dominion, and Santee Cooper have suspended disconnect. They are also, all of these utility partners have stationed additional resources so that as the storm leaves, that they are able to conduct power restoration services very quickly. With regard to our fuel partners for the state of South Carolina, we have continually checked in with them, and their fuel supplies are in good order, and they have no unmet needs.
Thank you. Ben Duncan.
Thank you, Governor. Ben Duncan, Chief Resilience Officer. We stand ready to assist citizens after the storm with recovery measures. We have disaster case managers ready to go. We have over 50 disaster case managers ready to help citizens with their unmet needs, whether it's food, water, clothing, or other measures that they need. We stand ready to assist them at any time. Thank you.
Secretary Hall.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'm Christy Hall, the Secretary of Transportation for the state of South Carolina. As the Governor mentioned, we completed all of our preliminary work today, including repositioning more than 100 employees down in the coastal areas to supplement the forces that we already have there in those areas to respond to the aftermath of the storm. That includes, as I mentioned, 100 additional folks from the upstate that we've moved down to help with road clearance operations as well as signal restoration work, which is something new that we did this year, which was to bring signal supplies with us into those areas to make sure that we're able to rapidly restore service into the area. And we will also team up with the utility crews that Director Edwards mentioned with regards to reentry and clearing of down trees. As the governor and others have mentioned, we urge that folks really try to avoid travel tomorrow if at all possible, just due to the high winds and rains and other dangerous conditions that may exist on the roadways. We are expecting, as John Q mentioned, some rain or some water to be over the roads at some point in time, especially at some of what we refer to commonly as some of the known areas that flood frequently in the state. So just expect that. Also, as mentioned earlier, make sure that you're following the advice and guidance of local officials, including law enforcement personnel, with regards to either crossing of the high-level bridges or rerouting around areas where there may be floodwater. Thank you, Governor.
Rob Woods.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Woods. I'm the Director of the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. SCDPS and its state support agencies, that's the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, the South Carolina Department of Pardon, Parole, and Probation, and the South Carolina Department of Transportation, began enhanced traffic management operations at 3 p.m. today in the coastal region, and will begin response operations at 6 p.m. in the Midlands and Upstate. Our current focus is responding to anticipated increases in calls for service along major highways as the storm approaches, and shifting to support of SCDOT in addressing traffic hazards and assisting SLED with law enforcement missions after the storm. As always, and to echo Secretary Hall's advice, DPS encourages all citizens to avoid travel during hazardous weather and remain aware of dangerous roadway conditions after the storm has passed. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Dr. Simmons.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Ed Simmer, Director of the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. We continue to work to prepare for this storm. A couple of cautions for folks. If the floodwaters start to come in, please remember that not only are floodwaters dangerous from a drowning standpoint, they also often have toxic substances and high levels of bacteria. So staying out of floodwater is very important for your health. For that same reason, at sunset tonight, we are going to close all shellfish harvesting beds statewide until such time as we can show that the water is safe and the shellfish is safe to eat again. That could be a couple of weeks, but all shellfish beds will be closed as of sunset tonight. We are continuing to work with our medical facilities in the coastal counties, which we think will have the greatest effect. We have 42 nursing homes, 126 assisted living facilities, and several hospitals. We're working very closely with all of them. They all are ready for this storm, but we have teams ready to respond on a moment's notice if any of them do have any challenges. We continue to work with our dam owners for the more than 2,000 dams that we regulate. We've lowered water levels on some of those dams, and we believe they are ready. We do not anticipate significant problems with the dams. So at this point, our goal is that no South Carolinian is physically harmed in this storm, and certainly no one is killed by this storm in South Carolina. I'm convinced that working together, we can achieve that goal. Please be smart, stay informed, don't take chances you don't need to take, and working together, we will make sure that every South Carolinian comes through this okay. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Okay, there you see Governor Henry McMaster and the state agencies. Really impressive to see the coordination that they have in place ahead of time, ready for this storm. Of course, yesterday he declared a state of emergency in South Carolina.
And the main concern continues to be the coastal regions and even the Midlands area since the track of the storm has shifted.